There are some people like that, that before they can become a designer is until they have a project they want to work on. That's when they get to their system. That's when they are designer. Outside their system, they are not designer. So you have to be designer to that point. In my house, whenever my wife wants to dress for my daughter, I have to be there. Why do I need to be there? Because I'll be the one to blend the color of our hijab with our clothes, our shoe. So there must be contrast. You don't just think because this top is beautiful and this trouser is nice, let her put it on this particular hijab. No. We want to look at how blend they are. And that is design. So it's not necessarily that I must design a flyer or design a logo or poster before I become a designer. No. Even writing my dressing, writing my daughter's dressing, I have to look at it, and me as a designer must show in that. It's very important. When you look around you, a lot of people always like find it difficult. They are looking for inspiration. They are looking for inspiration, and you're going to supermarket every day. As in on a daily basis, you don't see design at all on a daily basis. You're going to see close to 100 designs. But because you are switching between what design mode and your normal mode, you don't really see those things as design. You are buying, what's it called? Like, there's something I always notice about my daughter, and I'm always scared of taking us to wherever I want to buy something. If you take that, and that's what you need as a designer. When somebody give you a job that's designed for kids, how do you know what entices them? You only know what can work for kids when you look at how your own daughter or your own child behave and react to designs. I can remember, I think almost all the time, when they close in school, and I went to pick her and we are going home, it's like a custom something that you have to branch and buy sweets. And I can't count the numbers of time that my daughter will want to buy water gum just because of the way they design the water gum. So the design on the water gum will catch her attention, that she will insist that she does not want sweet. The question I will now be asking her is that, what do you want to do with water gum? So by the time you look at the water gum, when you look at the design on the water gum, you get to see it clearly that it is what is attracting. It's something that will attract kids. I can't count the numbers of time that I spend on budget money. Just taking her to store, and then we plan to go and buy something else. I could remember maybe 4 days ago, we only went to mall to buy ice cream. On getting there, she saw a cookies. The way they designed the cookies, the way the designer managed the color, is so attracting that she just was look away from the ice cream. Even while they are showing her the freezer for ice cream, she doesn't care. She was just pointing on that particular cookies. Until we buy it, I budgeted to go and spend 250. I later bought what? 1,300. So that is what design wants to do for you. So that's why, I said it when we are looking at what's it called? When we are looking at strategy session yesterday. I said design is not. I'm not the person that first said it. Like Tola Labi will always repeat it and repeat it and repeat it, that design is more of psychology than art. You see, part of design is secondary. It is the psychology part of it that comes first, because you are not designed to make it look beautiful. It's never your problem. I get this now. That your own personal interest, your I call it affection, or you trying to feel yourself, does not come first in design. Are you getting it now? Trying to satisfy your own eye, coming up with a beautiful something, is not the first thing that comes in design. What comes first in design is the problem that you want to solve with that design. Are you getting it now? So the problem you want to solve with the design is what really matters. And when you understand that problem, that is when you'll be able to provide the necessary solution. So when you see design out there, and you be like, Is this what this designer charge for? Because she at times, okay, let me give us an example. Go and check Rex Poster. Rex Poster is one of the top designers for Nollywood actress and actor now. Like, he's one of the best designer in designing Nollywood posters. You can go and check his work. When you look at his jobs, you will see that you don't necessarily need advanced aspect of Photoshop. You don't necessarily need to spend years in design before you can do those things. He does not put unnecessary manipulation because he's designing a poster. He does not put unnecessary element because he's designing a poster. His posters are always simple, but they will pass the message. By looking at the poster, you can tell that this is what this movie is all about. And that is what we call design. You don't just design for aesthetic sake. Aesthetic in design is secondary. That's not the primary. And should I tell you something? If you do the primary very well, it's going to give birth to the secondary. So, by His grace, I'm going to share the screen now. And remember, Rex is not a rec, it is Rex. R-E-X. Rex Poster. R-E-X. Rex Poster. You can just check the guy on Instagram. You get to see his jobs. So, like I told us, this class, I can't go in deep on every aspect. And I must tell you, if at all you are learning, I want to like explain anything in details in this class, I'm telling you, I'm explaining them in details theoretically. I'm only giving you what? Detailed explanation theoretically. But that detailed explanation theoretically cannot really yield. Yes, H.A. Victor, thank you. I think that's the correct spelling, Rex Poster. So, what I'm saying in essence is that if what I'm doing right now, explaining this thing deeply theoretically, it's not going to give the exact result it's supposed to give. Like if you are learning it practically. Let's take, for instance, yesterday class, when we look at the logo design of a thing, if I really want to like let you understand how to pick inspiration, how to read meaning to logo, it doesn't just start or end at where we end it and where we started from. It started from you getting conscious of logos around you. How many times have you bought clean? How many times have you bought pad? And do you notice how the designer play with the characters? All of those things, a lot of designers, we don't do them. We just become designer when we have job that we want to do. And after that job, that's all. So you're now wondering, how come this person design always come out well? Where are they getting the idea from? You can't compare you that you are what? On and off, and somebody that is always on as a designer. So it's very, very important we take note of those things. And if you make yourself to always be in design mode, you will see that design is just everywhere. Design is just everywhere. When you're advising somebody, it is design. Take, for instance, you get a frame and you want to put it in a place in your house. And I came in and I advised you that don't put this frame here. Why can't you just put it here? And you pick the frame and you put it at that point that I asked you to put it. And it becomes so nice that it adds that beauty you're looking for. It adds to that room. So you'll be happy seeing that. I need to charge for that. That's another thing that we need to also know as a designer. By the time you become a full designer, that you are always in design mode, you will see that you don't necessarily need to hold mouse or press keyboard before you end as a designer. So let's start the journey by understanding what we call graphic design. I'll be making reference to a particular material, and I know if you are designers that always make research very well, you must have come across this guy called Garrett David Studio. Garrett David Studio. I think, yeah, the guy is on YouTube. So I think he has done the best job in introducing graphic design. Like his video, I think he made the video 5 years or 7 years ago, and that video I've not still seen any. Like 3 years ago, when I was still like coming up as a designer, I watched that video, and I must tell you, it's still working till date. Are you getting it now? Though the whole of the thing said is just theoretical, but I must tell you, it will help you understand this job very well. So we're going to be making reference to his words, to his PDF in today's class, and coupled with some of my book. There's a particular design book I'm writing that I'm yet to complete. I'll be using it as a reference in this class as well. So without any further ado, let's get started. So I'm going to share my screen now, and once you can see the screen, somebody should just let me know. Just say yes. Just one person is enough. Okay, so can you see my screen now?
Yes, you can see.
All right, thank you. So this is section one of the book. I categorize the book into four sections. So this is the section one. And what exactly do you want to learn in this section one? All you want to learn in section one is what will make you understand your job as a designer. It is what will make you understand the terminology in your field as a designer. It is what will make you understand what you are even doing as a designer. I'm getting this now. So some people are just some people are designers, but they are not graphics designers. Why some people they are into graphic, but they are not into graphic design. I want you to quote those things now. Some people are designer, but they are not graphic designer. Some people they are into graphics, they are not a graphic designer. Then there are some people they are graphic designer. You see that it's three categories now. Who are the designer, who are into graphics, and who are the graphic designer? You are going to understand now as we move. So here we want to understand what is graphic design. When you're saying what is graphic design, we are so like it's like a costume something for us that when we want to know what is something, we go into Google and we search for the meaning. So every individual that wishes to do well in being a graphic designer should be able to answer and understand the question, what is graphic design? So if you pick your phone now and you go to Google and you type on Google that what is graphic design, or you use my best search engine, Quora. Quora is my best search engine, and I don't want to advertise them here, but why I like Quora is because of the way they assign you somebody that will answer your question. It's so human. Like you can get a coincides answer. So either you now check Google or you check Quora for definition of the term graphic design. You have something like graphic design is the art or skill of combining text and pictures in advertisement, magazine, or books. So that is the definition you are going to see for graphic design. But you see this definition, it's not helping. Like I always tell my students, I'll let them understand that a definition that comes to tell you the byproduct of something is not a definition. I'll take it again. A definition that comes to tell you the byproduct of something is not a definition of that thing. And I don't advise you stick to it. For example, when you ask people to define temperature, it's so fast and they find it so convenient to tell you that, oh, temperature is the degree of hotness or coldness of a body. Does that say anything about temperature? That's a byproduct of temperature. And why do I call it a byproduct? When a child is running temperature, you see that the temperature is high. When a child is normal, the temperature will be cool. So that's a byproduct. When something has a very low temperature, it will be cold. When something has high temperature, it will be hot. That's byproduct of temperature. That does not really let you know the beauty, the function of temperature. Just like this definition that we have for graphic design also is not letting us understand the meaning of what we refer to as graphic design. So now let's look into that. Let's look at this definition of temperature, and then you can compare the two and see what I'm trying to say. Look at this temperature, this definition of temperature. It states that what? The properties of a body that determines which way it will flow when the body comes in contact with another body. So if you look at this definition now, this definition is telling you the property of temperature. It's telling you how to use temperature. From this for this definition now, you can tell what the usage of temperature. Like if I want to know the direction in which it will flow in a body, I can use temperature. You now understand the usage of temperature now. Unlike the first one. So the same way we need to define graphic design so as to understand what it means. So the above definition is nothing but what? Byproduct of graphic design. When I say byproduct of graphic design, the end results of what they call graphic design. That's advertisement, that's magazine, that's books, that's flyer, that's poster, and so on. So let's look at it now. For us to be able to define this definition, graphic design, we must break it into two. Because graphic is a word on its own. Design is a word on its own. So if you now want to understand the two together, graphic design, you must understand them distinctly first. Split them to two, understand them separately. So bringing them together, you will be able to have what? A solid and well packaged understanding about what that thing simply means. So we're going to start with what is graphic. So graphic is visual and it is associated with art. Are you following now? It's visual and it is associated with what? Art. So when you're talking about art, you're talking about drawing, you're talking about painting, you're talking about lettering, you're talking about engraving, and so on like that. Anything aesthetic, visual aesthetic is what we strictly consider to be what? Graphic. Because those things are what we refer to as what? Art. Are you getting this now? So the graphic part of graphic design consists of visual elements. So some people cannot design the same thing you design until they see the whole of the elements you use. Those are people that are into graphic. Are you getting where I'm coming from now? So when you talk about what? Graphic is made up of what? Visual elements. And what are those visual elements? We have 1, line. We have 2, color. We have 3, shape. We have 4, texture. We have 5, space. We have what? The last part, form and typography. You see all of these things I listed, they are visual elements. So when you talk about visual elements in design, you're talking about line, color, shape, texture, space, form, and typography. I believe you have understand what they call graphic now. So in a nutshell, graphic is art and is made up of what? Visual elements such as line, color, shape, texture, typography, form. So now that you understand what we refer to as graphic, what is design? When you say design, design is a kind of decision that you are making about how you want something to look and what you want that thing to do. I'm sure you are getting this now. When you say design, you are talking about how do I want this thing to look? And if it look like that, what will be the function? For example, in our house, we do some little designs that we don't know that we are actually designing. Let's look for a good example, arrangement of our chair. When you look into your house and you decided to order for one seater, two seater, and one three seater, the first question you always ask yourself is, how do I want to arrange it? You are designing now. You are now a designer. Because the way you position those chairs matters a lot. You don't want to put them in a place whereby it will obstruct people's movement. You don't want to put them in a space whereby it will not add beauty to the house. You are designing already. So, and at times you might have arranged them in one way or the other, and all of a sudden you can just wake up maybe after 3 to 4 months and say, okay, I want to rearrange them. Maybe because you bought a new TV or you bought something new that need more space, and you feel like, if I take this thing away from here and put it here, it will still look fine and I'll have more space for this thing. You are designing. If you look at that, you did not own anything. You need laptop to do those things. You don't need them. I have to tell you that being a designer has nothing to do with laptop or mouse. So when I say design, it is to what? Is to decide upon the look and function of something before it is made. So this flyer that I want to design, how do I want the flyer to look? I want it to look simple. I want it to look classic. I want it to look mature. Are you getting it now? You're already deciding that before you even open your laptop. Okay, if it is classic, what will be the function? Be able to attract the classic people. I don't want it to be shouty because it's for a premium set of people. You know, these are things you are doing without even being on your laptop. Now, for you to be able to do this, design, just like graphic has its own element, design also has its own what? Element. And what are the design elements? Thinking, problem solving, and practicality. Those three things, they are what you need to be a designer. To be into graphics, for you to be into what? Into graphics, you just need to know what? How to use line, how to use color, typography, shapes, texture, form. So once you know how to use those ones, you're already into graphics. But you might not be a designer. And you see a lot of people, they will design something so beautiful. But on the long run, it's nonsense. And I'll play you guys a tape now. Let me quickly tell you this. I was on the Future some months ago or year, and there was this guy that, and I said it yesterday. I said, if you do this design job very well, with time you will later leave laptop for those that want to be using it, and you will become a strategist or you become a philosopher. That's the end point of every good designer. So this guy happens to be a designer. Then he wants to what? Move from being a designer and become a strategist. So he has moved from being a designer and become a strategist, and he's doing it fine. So Chris Du invited the guy, and during the press of question, what I want to bring out was that he said when he was in design school, there was a day that they gave them a project. And when they gave them this project, they went home, and the day of submission, they have to bring a professor from another school to come and examine the work. And there is this particular girl that you will see that she took her time to do the assignment, because the job was so beautiful, and everybody in class, even before the judge come around, they already conclude that her project is the best. And that is the same thing that is happening to us today, designers. Not everybody understand what makes a good design. And you know what? The professor failed to what? To check our work. The professor checked everybody's work. And everybody were like, why are they not checking this girl's job? It's so beautiful that I'm not looking at it. And the professor picked the work. When the professor picked it up, he did not even say anything. He just tear it. And the whole of the class was silent. According to him, everywhere was silent. And the professor was like, I know you are surprised. He says, this thing is so beautiful, but it's not solving the problem of the, as in, it's not solving the problem of why they asked them to do it. And that's to tell you how important it is to be a designer instead of you being into graphics. So to be a good designer, you have to know how to think. You must be a very good problem solver. You must what? You must be practical with whatever you are doing. So if you look at it clearly now, you will see that design is more of psychology. I get this now than even the art of a thing. So yeah, right here now, you get to see that design is already happening even before you open your Illustrator or your Photoshop or your InDesign. You already become a designer by understanding how to think, how to solve people's problems, and how to be what? Practical. Now you have understand what we call graphic and what we call design. Now we can look at what we call graphic design now as a definition. You can say graphic design, you must understand that it is not printing, not drawing, it's not creating a poster, it's not banner, it's not logo. Are you getting this now? So either you are doing it on a computer, so you have to understand that all these things are not graphic. So graphic design is not to make something look beautiful. You have to understand that. If you call yourself a graphic designer, then you are a problem solver. Let's take for instance that the flyer that you saw, as beautiful as it might look, is not letting you understand that this program is a free program. A lot of you will not click the link. Where I'm coming from now. So, but because it shows that it is a free class, that's the main reason why you are here. It's not because it's beautiful. The main reason why you are here is because you see that it is a graphic class and it is a free class. If you don't see it as a graphic class or a free class, you won't be here. Let's take for instance, and I want to design it, and I'm like, oh, when you have burger in what in the design, it's always beautiful. Let me put burger. Who will join? It will look beautiful, of course, but it's not going to pass the right message. And with that, nobody will take action. So that's that about what? About the aspect of graphic and design. So now let's look at the what's it called? Let's look at the definition now. When you say graphic design is the organization and presentation of information developed through a creative process for a particular function. Please note that graphic design is the organization and presentation of information developed through a creative process for a particular function. And somebody look at this definition and compare it with what we started with. Is it the same thing? You see that this particular one gives you details of what really make you a graphic designer. It explains your job as a graphic designer. So in graphic design, if you really want to do it very well, you must at first of all understand information, understand the message or the brief. So when you understand the information given to you, you understand what the client wants to do. Remember, even when we are talking about branding, it still lies down to understanding. And there is a riddle that I would have liked us to play, but the time will not permit us to. And you will get to understand why you need to understand an information before you can answer a question. That's why I tell you that all these ones are just theoretical. The practical, you will see exactly what I'm telling you. Because a situation whereby they gave you a question, and then you just read the question and answer, and you get it wrong. And when now analyzing why you get it wrong, you'll be able to understand that, oh, they are saying the truth. And that is the same thing that happens to you when you undo projects and you answer it based on just reading it once and you think that is what it means without giving it a deep thought to understand the information. And before you get to know, you start seeing rejection. Clients start sending the job back to you. Do this, do that, do this. And you become frustrated. So these are things you need to know. You need to understand the information, the message, or the brief. After you understand it, you then research. So at every point in time, you graphic designer, you are a researcher. After you research, you now think. When you now think and like, okay, it should be like this, you now have to imagine. How do you imagine? Put yourself in those people's shoes. If you are the one, will you also think the same way? And my wife happens to be my best, what is it called? My best point of contact when I'm doing my imagination. And how does she comes in? When I finish designing, I'll call her, say, babe, come here, come and look at this thing. What do you see? What can you see about the design? So she can tell you what she's seeing, even if it's a logo. What do you think this logo is communicating? She can easily tell you that, oh, I think it's this. So if I called her and she said something, and what she said is not what I really want to pass, and I call somebody else, come and look at this thing, and that same person also saying, well, probably what she said, I get it, or the person is not still saying what I intend to, and I know that something is wrong somewhere. I get this now. So there are times that when I finish designing and I call them, oh, come and look at this thing. What do you see to it? Like, it makes sense, but it's not. It should be colorful. Let it be colorful. Let it be catchy. So, and when I subject that statement at times into test, I'll be like, no, doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. You get where I'm coming from now. So you have to also imagine. So when you imagine, you do what? You develop and create a solution or concept in order to communicate that information, tell a story or message or idea in a visual ways. So these are things that are very, very what? Important for you to know as a designer. You must know how to communicate information. You must know how to tell a story or pass the message or the idea in a visual way. How do I use typography to communicate? How do I use color to communicate? How do I use line to communicate? Are you getting this now? So let's move on now. Somebody's asking question, how do you differentiate infographics and likes? We'll talk about that as we move on. So remember, the elements that we consider under what? Under graphic now. Now, if you're now talking about graphic design, there is rule that bind it. That rule that bind what we call graphic design is what we call the principle of design. So design has what? A principle. And what are those principles? Contrast, hierarchy, alignment, balance, proximity, repetition, simplicity, and function. Let me put on my illustrator because there might be need for me to do some explanation there practically. So all of these are the rules of graphic. Contrast, hierarchy, alignment, balance, proximity, repetition, simplicity, and function. These things are what we refer to as what? As the principle of design. You must understand how to do them. Not just in one way. You must understand how to do them in different ways. How can I use color to create contrast? What is contrast? Contrast is you being able to differentiate between two things. Hierarchy. Hierarchy is you being able to tell importance on two things. Which one is more important? Alignment. Alignment is you arranging something in a perfect order. Balance is you making sure that everything is well distributed the way it's supposed to. Is the left hand side equal to the right hand side? Is the center is equal in both ends? All of these things are what we need to understand. Proximity. How do you what arrange something to make sense? People don't understand. I don't know. Let's check if our illustrator has opened. I want to quickly show us something with the aspect of the principle that we are in now, that is the rules that we are talking about. So let me create a document. Let me just create a portrait, like Instagram portrait. Let's click on open. So let's wait for that to, and you're going to see what I want to show you now. I'll just quickly brief those principles, just summarize them. I already said that this class is just a brief and just to explain little things. Time, not what a full class. All right. Okay. So now let me just let's assume that I have some shapes like this. Let me just create all these random shapes. Let's add this. I want everybody to pay attention. So let's say I have this. So okay, let me give them like color. I want a neutral color though. Let me give it this color. Let me remove this stroke. Now let me create another one from this one. Just copying this. Just pay attention and see the way I want to arrange it. Something. You see what I have here right now. Then let me have some other shapes also aside from this one. Let me create a circle. I'll just refer to all these ones as some visual elements. Okay, so this is a circle. Let me have another copy of this. Let me have another copy of this. But let me increase the size of this. Just pay attention to what I intend to explain here so that you are going to understand those rules very well in just a nutshell. Okay, so you can do more by continue. Okay, so let me have more of this small size shape. All right, so what again should I have? Let me create small size of this. Okay, so let me also have indicator. Let me just increase this one a bit. Now you see this. Now these are elements. Now let's say these are informations you are given on your design. And now pick this. Now let me just create a background. So for somebody who asked question about how to give a background color yesterday, so this is how to go about it. Create a rectangle that is of the same size with your canvas, and you can decide to pick a color. So let me pick a color for this. Okay, let me pick purple. Okay, let me just pick this. Right. I don't want to use color. I don't want to use color. Let me just go neutral. I don't want to use color so that you not think the beauty is fascinated because of the color. Let's just go neutral. All right, so I have this now. Then let me select all of these and give them just a lighter gray like this. All right, so let's have it here. So I'll pick this very first one. let me say I arrange it like this. Okay, and let me pick this one also, and let me place it here like this. You know, because some people just think you're just to, when you are designing, you're just picking things randomly and just arrange anyhow. No, it's not about you arranging anyhow. You have to what, be intentional about your arrangement. And this is where the aspect of minimalism and simplicity comes to play. A lot of people are yet to be able to differentiate between those two. What is a minimal design and what is a simple design? That's not a talk for today. So I have another one here. And I have this also. Let me place this here. Okay. I have this. Let's have this here. I have this here. Okay. I have this. Okay. Let me just place this. You know, this is an arrangement with all these elements. Beautiful. I get it now. But what makes it bad is that if this is a job done by a designer, what makes this job a bad job is nothing but the designer fails to obey design principle. So now let's go back to the design principle that we are talking about, and we are going to apply it now, and are going to see what the outcome will look like. You see what the outcome will do, what will look like now. Now let us come here and create a contrast, balance, proximity, repetition, simplicity, and function. Now, can you see the way I want to apply this principle now? And then you will see the way I'm going to come up with something so nice. Now, let's look up. Let's look up, guys. Now, contrast. If you look at this element, this element, this element, they are of the same size. Are you getting it now? And this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, they are still circle one, almost of the same size. Let me eliminate them. Are you guys following? I eliminate those ones. So I'm trying to do what? Create what? Contrast. If you look at this one and this one also, they are almost the same thing, including this. Let me just remove them. Let me remove this also. I see it now. I remove unnecessary shape now. Are you getting it? So I'm not having a lot of contrast now. And how do I have a lot of contrast? Pay attention. This is just a circle. Abi, there is difference between a circle and a rectangle. You can tell the difference between them, isn't it? This is what? A circle. This is a rectangle. They have a lot of difference. This one is round. This one is what? It's having a four-sided. This one has a vertex. This one does not have a vertex. You can say a lot of things that differentiate this from this. If I now decided to give this one a brighter color more, I'm trying to explain what is it called with you guys now, all the design principle now. If I try to give this one color, there's now more thing that differentiate them. Oh, this one is a circle and the color is dark. This one is a rectangle and the color is dark. You now have a lot of things to differentiate them. What really make your design unique function is that when you have a lot of what things to differentiate your elements. Now, what about this one and this one? There's also a difference. This one is dark. This one, they are rectangle, no doubt, isn't it? So this one is what is small in size, while this one is big. Are you getting it now? So this one is tending towards the line, but this one is still thicker. This one is what? This one is lighter, and this one is what? Darker. You see, you can say a lot of differences between them. Now, that's for contrast. We have created a contrast now, and what we have here now is making some sense. Unlike when we have something rowdy here. So let's go back to the principle again. So what's the next one? What's the next one? The next one is what? Hierarchy. Hierarchy simply means place importance on them. So let's place importance on the elements that we have now. We want them to see the circle first. We want them to see the circle first. So I make it bigger. I make the circle bigger because I want it to be the first thing they are going to see. Okay? So the circle is bigger now. Now, this one is also bigger. You are seeing the two almost at the same time simultaneously, Abi. So let me reduce the size of this one. I believe we guys, we are all paying attention now. So I reduce the size of this. Let me just adjust this down. Okay, let me centralize it now. Centralize now. Can you see this now? So let their color be almost the same. But with the lightness of this one, it not be too light. Okay, so you can see now there's a contrast between them. That's number one. Number two is that what? There's hierarchy. Are you following now? So if you see this now, you see the what? The circle first. We call it a focal. Are you following me now? Now, all these ones and these ones, they are more or less like the same thing. So let's take it out now. Let me just readjust this to balance more horizontally. Now, what's something? What's something? We have created hierarchy now, Abi. So there's now hierarchy between them. There's now what? Hierarchy between the shapes that I have here. I see this one first, then this one. Now, how will this make sense? Let's go back to the next row. We have created hierarchy now. I believe you understand what they call hierarchy in a simple term now. Okay, so let's look at this. Alignment. So alignment is of, let me just say, alignment is of two types: center alignment and edge alignment. Center alignment means arrange everything to the center. Edge alignment means either to the left or to the right or to the top or to the bottom. That's what we call what? Edge alignment. So I want this one to be what? Center aligned. I want everything to align at the center. I get it now, and that's why you see this and you see this. I get it now. Okay, so I've aligned this to the center now. Then this one also, I want to align it to the center. But if I align this one to the center, it's not really making sense. So for this one to make sense now, I'll now come back to this place and look at what design principle. Balance. I can't. Let me check now. Balance. Let's check for balance. Now, your balance can be of three types: asymmetric, symmetric, or radii. So we have radii balance, we have asymmetric balance, we have what? Symmetric balance. Symmetric balance is if I divide this thing into two, if I have equal element on both ends, that's symmetric. But it is what? Asymmetric. If I have heavy object on one end and I have lighter object on one end, that's asymmetric. That's simple way I can explain this to you to understand. When you have heavy object categorized one side and you have lighter object categorized one side, that is asymmetric. In that case, if you divide it into two, they might not be the same thing. I get it now. But when you categorize all what? Heavy object one side, all light object one side, that is asymmetric. Then radii what? Radii balance. Radii balance is when you look at your design and you see that everything is projected from the center. Everything is just coming from the center. Like you can trace everything to a single focal point at the center. That is radii balance. We talk more about that in the class practically. So let's come back to this now. So I've seen now that which of the balance do I want to use. If I'm using a center alignment, the most preferable one for me is to what? Is to make it symmetric. So let's look at that. We have that in mind. So what I have at the left hand side was equal to what I have at the right hand side if I divide it into 2. So let's go on. What's the next one? Proximity. So proximity now is, when I say proximity, proximity means how you can do what? Arrange something to make meaning. Proximity means arrange something to do what? To make sense. Let me check the reference book that I made mention of that we are going to be using. I think I have a very good example of proximity there. So let's scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. Yeah, look at this sample here. Look at this. You see that when the designer, look at the first one, look at the first box here that I'm scrolling around. You see that when the designer arranged it, it's not bad, but it's not really making sense. It does not really give meaning. It does not give interest, but it's not something bad. But when you look at this one that is extreme here, it's not making sense at all. Just scattered around. Are you getting it now? So the first one, it does not bad. Are you getting it now? But it does not really what? Make much sense. You cannot really bring a lot from it, but it's not bad. It's not a bad idea. It's neatly arranged. But this one is what? It's neatly what? Arranged, because it's neat. Let me say it's neat. Or it's not even neat, because it's just scattered everywhere. So it's not making sense. But when you look at the one at the center, it drives a lot of meaning. You can see the way they arrange it such that if you look at the center, you are seeing like a triangle. They are creating a negative space triangle. It's making more meaning. So when you say proximity, proximity is what? How you arrange something to make meaning. So if I come back here now, how do I make use of proximity here? If I look at this and this, it's making sense. But the sense that it's making, it's not really what? It's not really nice like that. But let's see how we can do it. Then I will now come back to the next one, which is repetition. So coming to repetition, what repetition simply means in design? Repetition simply means that you should do what? Keep repeating one object, or keep repeating the same typography, or keep repeating the same color. When you pick one visual element and you are repeating it on your designs, it helps your audience to reduce the numbers of time that they will have to interpret what you are doing. Why? Because they've seen it before and they interpret it once and they've gotten it. So the brain did not need to reinterpret to understand. That's the essence of repetition in design. So let's see how this can help us here. How repetition can help us in this our design. Sorry, please. So let me try to create something meaningful here. And for me to have that so that the design will not be heavy, let me reduce the size of this and then create some repetition. So let me take this one down. So this 3 is fine. Look at it now. Just by repeating this element, that single element that is not making sense is now something making sense now. So let's centralize it. Are you see now? Is this making sense, guys, compared to what we have initially? So we have proximity applied, we have repetition applied, hierarchy applied. You see, by applying design principle, we are making sense. And now, then simplicity and function. Let's go into that. Let's look at it. Is this simple? Can I hear somebody? Is this simple enough?
Yes.
I want you to see the circle first. When you look at it, is that what you see first?
Yes.
So we have been able to apply design principle to come up with something reasonable. And that is what they call design. So when you say this thing is design, this is what you are talking about. You have applied what? Design principle to come up with something, so what? Something that makes sense, something unique, and something what? That is nice. So that's just a nutshell way of explaining all these design principles. So I could not really go in depth with the design elements such as line, color, shapes, texture, space, form, and typography. I'll talk about them a bit also, so that because you need them, because they are the tools that you want to be using to express your thoughts. And if you don't know how to use them, or if you don't understand them, they are going to be using them to express thoughts in a wrong manner. Are you getting where I'm coming from now? So, but when you use them in the right way, then you see that they are going to go a long way in your design process. Now, let's look at that. When you talk about line, let me just go to our reference book to explain all of those design elements so that you can really understand them in detail. This is our reference book now. Now, can you see lines? So we have some lines that are simple. We have some lines that are complex. We have well, we make use of them in different ways. These are simple lines that virtually everybody can what get familiar with. We have thicker lines, and there are some lines that comes in form of or in form of a dot. And you see these are dot lines now. So you can see all these are lines, and you can make use of them in designs. Are you getting it now? So let's move on and scroll downward to see more. So somebody asked about infographics the other time. So this is a line now. You can see we use line to construct an infographics. And when you look at the all of those small things inside the infographics, they are also made up of what? Line. So this is how you can use line in design. You can use line to create hierarchy. You can use line to what? To lay emphasis on something. You can use line for decoration. You can use line to draw structure or to draw attention to something. You can use line to create border. So if you look at this one now, you are using line to create infographics. And what is infographics? Infographics is something that we use more in an organization. And I'll just basically tell you, like, just briefly explain what it is. It's a kind of graphics that shows you a way of navigating, like how you can navigate your way, just like a map that you want to follow. For example, organogram of a brand or a company. Are you getting it now? It is an infographic. So if you enter into where they have the picture of the organogram, you don't need to ask for who is superior in this department. Are you getting it now? It's just like you enter into school setting and you look at vice principal ACAD and you look at vice principal admin. So by looking at the organogram, which we refer to as infographics, you can tell that, oh, VP admin is more superior to what? VP ACAD. Okay, this student is not doing well. Who will I report to? I have to report to VP ACAD. It is the organogram that will let you know. That's an infographic. Are you getting it now? Oh, if this worker is not doing well, who am I to report to? By looking at the infographic, you know you are reporting to the VP admin. Okay, I'm a student and I have a demand from the management. Who will I tell? Who will I tell? No, you have to consult the prefect from the what? From the infographic. So you have to use it in business also, especially in pitch deck. when you are creating pitch deck, it's like an infographic because you are not there to explain it. They will have gone through it and try to understand some certain things before they can call you to come and defend your pitch deck. And that's why we need to understand it very well. It is also what everything about it is made up of line. So you can also use line to separate words. Are you getting this now? You can use line as a border. You can see they use it as a border here. If I remove this thing now, this thing will not make sense like this again. So you can use the way they have used line to create structure here and design. It gives this thing a structure and what? And design. So let's move downward. Now, at times, line might not come in form of the what? In form of a stroke like this. It can come in form of space. Like if you look at this newspaper, look at this newspaper. Look at the straight line that you have here. Can you see? It is space that creates that line and it's straight. So lines help you to create alignment as well. You understand that now? And this one, the fact that this one is solid also, is also made up of line. To mention but few. And when you look at this very last one, you see, they use line to do decoration. Can you see? And it allows the page to make sense. So this person purposely used black and white so that you not mix things up. You see the beauty of every visual element in a design. So what makes your design look more unique, attractive is how good you are in using all these words, elements to interpret your thoughts. So these are things that you need to live. You need to see how people are using it. That will help you to also know how to use it. You see that people are buying car. If you don't look at the way they are riding car, you can't know how to ride. It's very important. So the next one is color. So we look at color now. Color. Now, this is where a lot of designers always have problems. And if they are starting up as a designer, there are major two areas of visual elements that you can't escape the problem there. But my advice is that once you are starting up, note these two areas very well. Document your process so that you will know how you are able to scale through. What and what do you put in place that enable you to scale through the problem and difficulties in those two areas? And what are those two areas? Color and typography. Color and typography is one of the basic problem of every new designers. Even some already established designers still what made mistake or find it difficult to know the right color to use or the right typography to select. Now, there are a lot of design principles, but I would not like to discuss any theoretical principle here. Why? Because it will end up confusing you. But this is it here. You see this color wheel? It was designed by Sir Isaac Newton, I think in 1666, if I'm not mistaken. Now, what I want to bring out here, there is this quote that need to be your favorite. And I think I cited the quote in my textbook, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm not hearing again, no.
Okay, you can't hear me again? Can
We
anybody
can
hear
hear
me?
you.
Yeah, I think it's your network.
No, I'm hearing you.
Okay, thank you. All right. So I think I cited the quotes in this my write-up. And I think, yeah, and I want to start talking about color. Okay, yeah, this is it. All colors are the friends of their neighbors and the lovers of their opposites. Just always remember this quote. All colors are the friends of their neighbors and the lovers of their opposites. Let me break this down to something understandable. Let's go back to the color wheel. You see, when colors sit beside each other, we have what we call monochromatic. That's monochrome. Let me just take you down to this place and explain some certain things here. We have primary color. And this primary color is of two categories. There's what we believe in art, there's what we believe in science. In art, we believe it is what? Red, yellow, and blue. In science, we believe it is what? RU, green, B. That is RGB, red, green, and blue. And that's why you see that what you have in your screen is RGB, because that's what we believe to be the primary color in science. But in art, what they believe to be primary color is red, yellow, and blue. And I think the problem or the reason why they choose red, yellow, and blue in that industry to be primary color is because of the issue of mixture. How to mix. It's very difficult for you to mix to get yellow, but it's very easy to mix what? To get green. So I think, I'm not saying that is why, but I think that is the reason why red, yellow, and blue is the primary color in art. Why? In science, it is RGB, because adding what? Light, the wavelength of a light is not what? It's not difficult. Are you getting this now? So don't let me go in deep into that, so that I will not start explaining physics instead of graphics. So the second color is what? Secondary color. Secondary colors are those colors that you get whenever you mix what? Primary color. So if you mix two primary color, you get what? One secondary color. Then tertiary colors. Tertiary colors are made by mixing a primary color with what? A neighboring secondary color. You understand that now? So if you look at this primary color now, you have what? Yellow. I'm getting this now. You have what? Blue. And you have red. I'm getting this now as your primary color. Then secondary color. If I had, what's it called? Yellow and what? Red together, I'm going to have orange. If I had yellow and blue together, I will have what? Green. And if I had what? Blue and red together, I will have purple. So that's secondary color. Now, if I have what? Orange here. I see this now. And then I had this orange. This is a secondary color now. The neighboring, that is the closest primary color to this one, is this yellow. If I had this yellow and this orange together, I will get this tertiary color here. This is the kind of yellow shade that I have now. So the same thing, if I pick what? Green, which is what? A secondary color. And I add this to what? To this yellow that is closer to it, I will have this shade of green. Are we making sense? So that's that about what? About that. So tertiary color, secondary color, and primary color. Then we have now what? Monochromatic. Monochromatic simply means that you are dealing with a single color hue. There's what we call hue. There's what we call shade. There's what we call tone. Time will not permit me to start explaining those things. But basically, let me just say, when I say hue, hue is it simply means a base color. Like if I pick red now, the hue is what? Red. That is, the main color is red. That's what they call hue. If I now had white or I had black to that hue, so if I had black, I'll be having shade. Are you getting this now? If I now had what? White, I'll be having tone. If I had gray, that is white and black, I will have what we call tint. Are you getting it now? To mention but few on that area. Now let's say monochromatic. Monochromatic design simply means you are using a design of one color. So if you look at this color that I have here, this first one, they are all yellow. but they are different shade of yellow. So if in a design that is like this, you are using different shade of yellow to come up with what? With that design. Such design is monochromatic. So this is blue, different shade of what? Blue. Are you getting it now? Monochromatic. This is red, different shade of red, monochromatic. Then we have what we refer to as what? Analog. When I say analog colors, they are colors that sit beside each other. Three colors that sit beside what? Each other. Are you getting it now? So, like 1, 2, 3. They are beside each other. Are you getting it now? Like 1, 2, 3. They are beside each other. Are you getting it now? 1, 2, 3. They are beside each other. And that's what we have here. Three adjacent color, or let me just say adjacent colors are referred to as analog colors. They also help you to create what? A good contrast if you know how to use them. And the most, go back to that, what was it called? That quote now, that your opposite is your what? Is your lover. Your neighbor is your friend. You see, analog, it is neighbor. And that's why you see that the level of contrast is not really high, but they still make sense together. They are friends. But you see their love, just like the affection you have for your friend, you and your friend, you can pally. But you can't compare the affection you have for your friend with the kind of affection you have for your wife. It is two different things. So that is complementary. Complementary is love. You can see opposite color. These two colors, they will come out very nice. And you can see the way we have them. Even by looking at them, they look appealing compared to all these ones. Then we have triadic, which is the last one. 3 colors that form a triangle. So if I draw a perfect triangle now, those 3 colors, they are what we refer to as what? Triadic. And I think that's enough under the aspect of color. Then the next visual element is what? Shape. So your shape, you have to try as much as you can to pay attention to psychological meaning of shapes. When you can bring out white space, negative space, using a shape. So it's very, very important. So I will not really say much about that. Your logo is a shape and so on like that. Then we have what? Texture. Texture is a way of giving your design life. I get things now. It's a way of bringing your design to life. Let it look so real. So we have different type of texture. You can read more about texture by reading about different type of backgrounds. So we have close to like 10 or 13 types of background. Like we have the chalk background, we have the concrete background, we have the paper background, we have bouquet backgrounds, and so on like that. We have what is it called? Astronaut backgrounds, mathematical background, and abstract backgrounds. So there are a lot of backgrounds like that. So you can just read more about them. And but probably when we are designing, you see the way we make use of what? All of these textures in design just to give our design life. It's very important. So the next one is space. So this is what we call, we have positive space, we have what? Negative space. Positive space is, let me just show us. Can you see this now? Let me take it back. If I click on this, let me first of all duplicate this so you see what I want to show very well. If I click on this and I click on this, then I come to my Pathfinder and I click on minus front. And you see this now. What I have here now, I remove what? A circle from this shape. Can you see? Can you see the shape? So any color of this background is what will be showing here. Are you getting where I'm coming from now? Any color of the background is what will be showing here. So this is a negative space. And this is the main shape that I used to work, bring about the negative space. So this one is called what? a positive space. So this negative space, this positive word space, and they're always interesting in design. So then we have what we call white space also. Space. White space simply means the spaces that you have around your design. Like all the spaces now that we don't put anything on, they are white space. You understand that now? Okay. So we have form. So this is the shape, this is the form. Let me just literally just explain it. When I say form and shape, a shape is what? Two-dimensional. A form is three-dimensional. It's like you cannot explain it. That's a very simple way of me explaining difference between shape and form. So a shape is two-dimensional and what? A form is three-dimensional. So that's what the difference between. So that's what brings about all this 3D that you use in your design. So people that know 3D text, they don't understand the usage of it. So if you don't know how to use all these things at the right time, they will always, well, instead of making your design, they will break your design. So then typography is my area of specialization. But I don't know how I'm going to do justice to this in a very, like, very minimal way. But I'll try. Forget about this anatomy. You don't need it now. You need it in the main class. Because in the main class, you'll be taught how you can come up with your own typography, especially for logos. Now, when you talk about typography, yesterday I told us that typography are basically categorized into three. That is serif, sans serif, and script. You now see under this word, three categories. They now give birth to other words category, such as slab serif, such as decorative, such as handwriting, such as black letters. So all these ones are what gave birth to all of these types of typography. And when I say when I say serif, serif means typography that has what? Extras. So you can see it's having extra. After you write normal out, is having what? Extras. That's what make it serif. Serif means what? Extra. Is a French word. Sans serif means the one without extra. So any font without extra is called sans serif. The one with extra is called serif. Then slab serif is what? The fonts that have extras and appear bold. Just like the, what was it called? The logo of Bobo. So when you look at the fonts that they used to write Bobo, it is what? A slab serif. And it's always used to show strength. That's the psychological part behind it. Then we have script. Script is what you see like your handwriting. And that's how they bring another type of letter from it, which is handwriting class of letters. So this one is always used to show elegance. They all have their psychological meaning. You can read more about them. The black letter is basically like used for showing rascality. Let me just put it like that. Then decorative fonts, as like the name implies, decorative, and they always come in different words. So abstracts, these are not really much type of fonts, so but the designer just decided to like include it, something to just call our attention to what is important, but probably not common. Let me just put it. Now you can see the way they have used typography in designs now. So typography alone, if you know how to use it very well, is enough for you to design, even if you don't have other elements in place. So you can see, look at this page now. Look at how interesting it looks. And the only thing they make use of is typography. No color, no picture, no line, just typography. Same thing goes to this. The same thing goes to this. So typography, you know how to use it very well. It goes a long way. So I've explained all of this with design that we have here. That's the rules of designs, and I think that will be a good place for us to stop tonight. By God grace, tomorrow we are going to see how we can handle brief and design a flyer or design a poster. Let's see how it's going to go tomorrow. So tomorrow we are designing. You understand that now? So I'd like to take our questions now while I stop the